So, a little bit of a filter there. So, hey guys, welcome to another All Bass Creations Effects Tutorials, Demos, and Review. Today we'll be going through bass filters and how they can be useful to your playing. So that was just one example of a little slap and pop with some filter on it. And you can likewise, if you wanted to add it to your synth bass, filters open up a whole new sonic landscape for your synth bass stuff. So here's a little synth bass, just a little bit. So that right there actually was the Poly Blue and the MXR, MXR Poly Blue and the MXR bass filter, which is a bass envelope filter, which is an analog filter. You know, so just getting into it. You got digital filters, you got analog filters. That was the analog one. Digital ones, I'll give you examples of those as well. Um, you'll find some of those like on stuff like multi effects units, and you'll find some pedals like that are digital envelope filters as well. But pretty much it's an effect that sweeps the frequencies and gives you that wow or wow, you know what I'm saying, type of sound. So, sometimes the filters are opening up and sometimes they're closing. Sometimes they're oscillating, open and close, using the LFO, which is a pretty much is an oscillator that allows it to have a steady tempo, or it can vary the tempo as well, but it can be set to a MIDI clock or things like that. A good example of that would be Electroharmonics Blurst, which I have, and I'll give you an example of. I don't have it on camera. Unfortunately, my other camera went down on me, or it's kind of making my system act up right now, so I had to take it off so I can get this video done for y'all. So, but I do have the Blurst and the bass Electroharmonics bass balls on the floor, which you can't see. What you're looking at the screen here is my pedal board that's sitting on the keyboard stand. So it's above. It's a keyboard stand holding the keyboard, and then there's one holding the effects pedals there. So let's get started a little bit more here than we have. So let's dial it back. Here's my bass dry. In terms of what I just have on with just my bass real quick is a 160 compressor on the Zoom B3, which is a DBX 160A rack compressor emulation, and then I have that running into the SGT, ampeg SGT, with just a preamp, and then I have that running into this LMT 76 on the B6. You can see that down here, this way, and you can see what I have on the screen there as well. So I pretty much have like a virtual amp setup, or analog preamp running into IRs pretty much, or emulations. So let's get started here. We're started with the MXR analog filter, so let's start there. Great sounding filter. So great sounding filter. And just so you can hear the filter by itself, let me turn off the dry signal. And so that's why we keep the dry signal in there. I prefer envelope filters allow you to keep that dry signal in there, because that dry signal keeps your low end intact. And then you can kind of pick and choose how you want to adjust, mix the two, the affected sound and the um, dry sound. And on this filter, you have a decay, a Q, and a sensitivity settings pretty much in terms of the envelope. And the Q is pretty much the resonance, which is around 11 o'clock, and the decay, which is pretty much setting the lower part of the filter. So where it decays to, it's not like the rate of decay, which is different. So it's this determines how far the frequency sweeps down. So so as you can hear there, it was it controls the bottom of the frequency where it sweeps down to, because it's a dynamic filter, so it depends on your input level to open the filter or close it. So if you're above a certain threshold, it's going to stay open. As you can see, there's like wah, and then you go wah, wah, around down the bottom. Once the string started to vibrate a little less, the volume came down, the filter closed more. So, and that is set down. That sensitivity is set by, well, that part of the how it interacts, how your input interacts with the envelope filter is set with the sense knob, which is short for sensitivity. Okay, so then you got the Q knob, which pretty much turns up your resonance. So pretty much how aggressive the filter is the way I look at it. Or a simple way to look at resonance is how aggressive something becomes. The more resonant it is, the more aggressive it is. That was all the way up. Now here's 12 o'clock. And here's 9 o'clock on the Q or resonance. As you can see, the filter is much less aggressive. It's much soft. I wouldn't say softer, but it makes the effect less intense, turning the filter the resonance down. So if you want a smoother sound, you want to keep the resonance, within reason. If you want a crazier sound, crank that bad boy up, and you'll hear all the intensity of the filter that the filter can give you, at least. So I like to keep mine around 11 for the resonance, and typically somewhere pointing between the E and the C which is kind of like 12, 1 o'clock on the decay. And for the sensitivity, I usually keep that. Let me see. Yeah, somewhere around there. That's like 2 o'clock. So around 2 o'clock, and then you can have more of the filter sound and less dry sound, but you need some of that dry sound in there to keep, if you want the bottom part of your sound, the bass frequencies. Um, so you kind of mitigate, you work between the two. Here's what it sounds like with the effect and the dry levels at 12. And I'm gonna turn the resonance up so you guys can really hear the filter a little bit more. It's set about 2 o'clock. And another thing that filters like envelope filters like this, dynamic envelope filters, I help you with is your picking, or just I wouldn't even say you're picking. Um, they'll help you really distinguish your dynamics between every single note. So it makes you think it'll have you be a little bit more intentional with it. So you really can hear it there. If you want to hear even more, even more of the filter, I guess, if you want to give it something to grab onto, this is how I think about it, like distortion or overdrive, things like that. If you feed them into a filter, it gives the filter, it's like without the distortion, the filter is kind of like, I just think of it like water running down a smooth surface. And then when you add the distortion or overdrive, it's like the water going over a rocky surface. It's still going to flow downward, but it's like it gives us something to grab onto a little bit more. Um, but that's just how I think about it versus just smooth versus like that type of sound. So let me give you an example. This might work here. And what you gotta realize is filters are mad musical especially when you start over, adding overdrive and distortion in there. They're already musical to begin with, but when you start adding, because like EQ and stuff like that are types of filters. Um, but this joint here, yo, with a little distortion, it just gets super musical. Yeah. Yeah, just that filter falling is just so musical, and then it gets to a certain little range where the resonance really hits because of the frequency that you're playing, and it just like glows. It starts glowing real quick, like it's just amazing. But that's filters for you. Um, so another one of my favorite filters is on the MS60B, which is available, and this same effect is available on all of the older multi stomps and the Zoom B3 and some of the Zoom pedals from around that time. You got to have a pedal around that time. If you do, you'll know that this M filter, which is a Moog style filter emulation, so it's emulating that. It was the MF101, I think. Moog filter. I can't remember all these names of this stuff. I don't have. And because they're very expensive filters. But Zoom was kind enough to give us a really good emulation of one. So, let's hear a little bit of that. So as you can hear there, it's nice filter. In case you want my settings for that, the frequency is 56. The sense is set to 6, and the resonance is set to 8. The type is set to low pass filter (LPF). It's a two pole characteristic. Character is the two pole, um, and the velocity is set to slow. Balance is set to 69, and level is set to 100. No, 85. Level set to 85. Whatever. That level is real more preferential depending on how much signal you need coming out the system. So Just depends. So I like to, since we already in the MS60B, I like to add the bit crusher. So, um, like I said, just like overdrive and distortion adds something for it to grab onto, so does a bit crusher. A bit crusher I would rather use in place of overdrive and distortion a lot of the time for synth sounds, especially synth stuff. I would rather use a bit crusher in various different ways. You don't have to just use that one bit crushing sound type sound. You know. Let me see. You can use it in other ways, but that's what the bit crusher is going to sound like. Right? But then you add that M filter. And as you can hear, like it's a really great. That is a great filter, digital filter right there. It's emulating an analog filter, but that is a great digital filter right there. It's going to fill out your sound. It doesn't get in the way, and pretty much 70% of that sound is the affected sound. Only 30% of that is keeping that. Matter of fact, let's see what it sounds like all the way up. Let's compare that to the MXR. Turn this back to 79. No, I had it on 69. And let's turn this resonance up on it. So as you can hear, that filter can make a world of a difference. Without it, with it. Digital versus the analog one, MXR. So it just depends on your preference, with this type of thing. Let's see. So I like to use not just for stuff like that, but I like to use filters on my pads and stuff as well. So yes, you can use them on. Well, before we do that, let's keep going through the different types here. Let's get into some digital ones. I'm gonna switch this patch up here. Let's change this to a filter. Let's do the sequence filter. Alright, bam. And let's put that like that. And we use So that is a sequence filter. So pretty much it's a filter that has this one in particular has a pattern 8 different, let's see, I think it's about 64 different patterns for real. Um each pattern has 8 different variations of it, and there's 8 patterns. So um I don't know if my math was off. Somebody let me know if my math was off. Maybe. Possible. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not the math niggas. I'm the bass niggas. Come on. Get off me. Get off me. Get up off me. Yeah, so yeah, I would say I love this joint. For that little stuff like that. Of course you can have different patterns. And little filters like this are very much they're very much, I would say, um, they're they're very useful for a few different reasons. So one, for practicing, just practice alone. It's good to be able to play to it. That's synced up to a specific time, BPM, and it's not changing. No matter if I get off, so you kind of get the aim and know how and start to get more accurate with your timing, playing with filters and things like that. Whether it be the dynamics with the dynamic filter or something like this, the timing of it, you got to stay on time when you're playing with stuff that's synced up like this. It's like a metronome. You can't. It's not going to change. So unless you change the time, the speed, something like that. So those are my settings for it on the screen there. Hold on, make sure you guys can see that D dot. Give me 1 second on this iPad here. So let's just go ahead and do that. That way you can see the iPad, and I don't have to do a bunch of other stuff. We're gonna do it like this, and then do it like that, and hopefully you guys can see that. If you can't, the steps is set to 8, pattern 7, speed 26, resonance is 10. Let me just bring that up some for you guys. Let's take this to a hundo. Yeah, because I just want you guys to be able to see properly. I don't want you guys getting gypped out of your good view there. And that way you can see where we are. And then we're good. So, with this filter, you got different steps there, different patterns. All these are different 8-step patterns right now. It's uses 8 different steps. If you slow it down, you'll really hear it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Three, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. So instead of just up and down, it varies, and it has set patterns. There's another one on the. It's on the. I don't like changing my settings, guys. Eesh, I hate changing my settings. So give me 1 second. Let me see if this one has it too. Does it have a random sequence? Because there's another type that's more of like a random one, and it's available on the older Zoom stuff. And it's a sequence filter as well, but it's like random. So like it just randomly opens and closes the different amounts. It's not set the same way that one is. Let me see. Let me pull it up for you. I ain't using this. So I changed this to one of the random. Where is it? Here it is, the random filter. And this filter has a lot of parameters. It's about 9 different parameters you can control with this one. So you can control things like the range. So as you can hear there, the further, the more I went up, the more the more you get to 100, the higher the frequency range it'll open up to, and the lower you get, it'll bring it down to somewhere around the low mids frequency. It could be a low pass or a high pass filter, or bandwidth pass or band. This is something you throw. You definitely would throw a bit crusher on and like that poly blue, like a monophonic octave down on it. Um, Let me do something real quick. I want this over here, and oh, sorry guys. So that filter, y'all wonder why I be like, yeah, Zoom be killing them. Like Zoom be smashing the other multi effects units in terms of what the older units did. The newer ones, everybody else, because Zoom took out some of these effects like that. Like they should have kept all these different filters, that random filter, instead of some of these other stuff. You know, for me personally, I would have rather them kept that and updated that on the B6. You know what I'm saying? And gave me that processing power with that joint, cause that joint sounds so good. And to be a digital pedal that's only processing around 24-bit, you know what I'm saying? That's crazy. It's only about what 44.1 kilohertz sampling rate on that. That's why I actually like the Zoom stuff too, for the effects, because it's not the highest quality. So when you go for them grimy effects like that, it be there. It be with you. It be ready to go. But the newer one is a lot cleaner, and I'll give you an example. So like the B6, let's go to the Zetron here. So, you can invert the filter to go up or go down, sweep down or sweep up. Um, that's cool. That's a cool little filter. That's one of the best ones on there. He's a bass auto wah. So an auto wah is like a wah wah pedal, but as a dynamic filter. So that's a auto wah, meaning it automatically wahs when you using your dynamics and play above a certain threshold. This A filter is pretty cool when you keep the peak down in the synths. So that gives you a nice sound as well. Here's the down version. So that's a pretty cool filter there. As well. Here's a bass cry, baby. So that's a nice little filter as well. You can play around with the settings there, but the different filters are going to give you different things out of it. So like even with that filter, run that with an octaver and a bit crusher, the same octaver bit crusher we were running with before. So even then, that's running the distortion instead of the bit crusher. That's a big muff emulation. But yeah, it's filters are amazing. Here's another one on here that's not an EQ. I'm doing all the ones I did EQ yesterday, guys. Check out the EQ video. Check out the compressor video. All that stuff coming out. We doing videos every hour on the hour till we feel like we where we want to go. You feel me? Till we get where we trying to go on YouTube. We doing an hour every hour. We on them. But I appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Last one, last filter. Here we go. And this is just a regular analog filter. So this one is actually emulating this MXR one. It's not even close, but it's emulating. So, yeah, bam. Like I was saying before, oh, yeah, this one is, you get a few more type. Let's see. Last one I'm going to show you guys is just a regular resonance filter. Let's go back, delete, and change this to not that filter, but the pedal. And there's also on his B6, there's also a version of that auto wah filter as a pedal. Pretty much controlled by the pedal, external foot switch, foot pedal you can get. But this is actually the best filter on here, the pedal resonance filter. So you run that with some, let me turn off the distortion. And this I'm controlling with my foot. And so that's actually one of my favorite ones on there. You run that and some distortion into that. So those are the settings that were just on there. And of course, you play with the frequency. It's going to give you different results, resonance as well. Add the dry in there. Um, Now, let's get back to the analog filters. Um, so on my pedal board that you can't see on the floor is a EHX bass balls and an EHX blurst. So they're both analog filters, but the bass balls is a very unique filter. That's why I had to have that one. It's a twin filter. It used to be a really big pedal. Now it's a small pedal, about this. It's the size of a regular pedal now. But it used to be like this big. It used to be like a big old thing. But now it's a beautiful twin filter with built-in distortion, but I don't use the built-in distortion. And here's a tip or trick for you guys. If you open it up, you can change, go inside, and there's a little pot that you can change, and it'll help change the voicing of it, more for bass or more for guitar. So you can open up the back of the pedal. It's plenty of videos on it. Just look on how to modify the frequency of a bass balls, electro bass. But you can just go inside and just turn it, and it'll play around with the filter a little bit. I believe it's the mid range. So that's pretty much the bass ball sound. That's with the response around 1 o'clock, and I usually keep it around 1 o'clock or 11 o'clock. Wow. That's the bass balls. If you turn on the distortion. And here's what it sounds like with an external distortion. That's the bass balls. And last but not least, certainly not least, the EHX Blurst analog filter. And this is a modulated filter. It has a built-in LFO that I can choose to control with a foot switch. So you can control the note value of it, or you can control the waveform of it, or the time of it, or the range. And all these different things are going to make the filter sound completely different. So right now I got it in foot switch mode, pretty much the filter mode. I'm pretty much controlling the sweep with my foot. And all the resonance and blender at 12. And the rate is disabled. But everything else is being controlled with the foot. So, having an analog filter like that you can control with your foot, or you can have it set as an LFO. Let me see, babe. So, yeah, basically, different filters are going to give you totally different results, totally different sounds to things you already have. Like, it's going to, if you already have distortion and stuff, it's just going to make everything better. It's going to allow you to have different flavors, and you can decide if do you want the digital copy or if you want the analog one. An analog one's going to run you more. But like those blurs pedals aren't cheap, and the MXR one and the baseballs. I got that baseball used for $40. Okay, so you just gotta get that one used. But the MXR, you probably could find that used for like 80, $90. You know what I'm saying? But in the blurs, you probably find that used for about $1.50, somewhere around there. So well, $100, $1.50, somewhere around there. But they're all great options in terms of analog filters. Just depends on which one you want. Source Audio used to make this purple one that had a bunch of ability to store, like you could make your own step filter in it. It could pretty much do what all these filters can do, but of course it didn't have the same sound. It had its own sound, but it could be a step filter, dynamic filter, or you can have an external foot switch and control things, and you can have presets, and you can have different EQ curves and all that different stuff within that one pedal. But that gym is expensive. But I have to say it was one of the most impressive envelope filters I ever seen, and that was made by Source Audio. So if they still make it, or if you can find one used, it's a purple pedal. It's two of them. One's smaller, and then they made a bigger one. So filters are amazing. They can open up a whole new world of sound and sonically to you. By changing pretty much how your bass sounds at different moments. So you can even do things like if you have. Very last thing I'll do. Say like you do have like a blurst where you can control it, or this foot switch on the foot one we have in the B6. You can have one section of the song like closed and one open. So you can use it like that. You can think of it like how a harmonica player would do. You can think of it like that. You can think of it like a sort of like a almost like a vibrato, like a cross between a vibrato and a Leslie. Like it's you can use them like a filter like that, like the blurs, in a similar fashion you would a Leslie as well. Um, and you can use it as like almost like a tremolo effect, depending on how fast and what you're doing, you know. But yes, these things are game changers as well in the synth territory as well as for your bass playing. So they can help you practice. They can help you work on your dynamics, your timing, all that good stuff. So don't discount what a filter can do for your playing. So this has been another episode of All Bass Creations, Effects, Tutorials, Demos, and Reviews. I am the Bass Nagus. You can find me on all social media at the Bass Nagus. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. I really need y'all to rock with me. You know what I'm saying? If you really like what I'm doing, rock with me. Hit that super thanks. You know what I'm saying? Hit that cash app. I really appreciate $1 or two from everybody. That would be amazing. Like, you don't understand. It might not change your life, but $1 from all y'all would definitely help me out a lot. Especially because it's a bunch of y'all, like, you know what I'm saying. But I really enjoy helping. I really enjoy doing these videos, and this is something I'm probably going to end up doing full time at some point. So definitely help me get there a little faster, you know. But this is go to allbasscreations.bandcamp, find my music, and stream it on all platforms. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.